Hey guys, Dolan Hoffman here. I just finished up my first semester in the DAT program, so that was really kind of eye-opening for me. It's a relief saying I've done it. It's also a realization that there's a lot left for me to do and a lot left for me to learn. At the beginning of the DAT, the very first week of my first semester, we did a video and a reflection on what we considered evidence-based medicine. And what I found was, looking back on that video now, I really only understood a third of what makes up evidence-based practice. I spoke a lot on, evidence-based practice is taking the best evidence and using it in your practice. And that's such a small percentage of what actually makes up EBP. What I didn't realize until going through this, and this has been the biggest thing that I've really learned through this first evidence-based medicine class, was the three factors that make it up. So yes, we have best evidence, but we also have patient values, right, and our clinical expertise or experiences. And it's the way those three come together that creates evidence-based medicine, and that's how we're truly driving the profession forward and making sure we're doing what's best. That a lot of athletic trainers, I don't think, look at that. A lot of athletic trainers, and even myself, would consider patient values or clinical expertise separate from evidence-based medicine, or they might consider clinical experience and best evidence clashing against each other. And that's not really true. It's all of them working together. You can't have one more than the other. They all have to be equal in order for you to be providing, or me or anybody else be providing, the best care they can. One way that I've kind of learned about this, and one way that I want to improve my practice and be more evidence-based, is the implementation of PROs, patient-rated outcomes. That's something I don't do, and that's one of the best ways that I can use high-quality evidence to take into consideration patient values and the individual patient, right? Understanding how are they rating their level of disability? How are they rating their quality of life? And actually taking that information into account, right? And using that to drive the treatment is something I don't do, and something that I'm really excited about implementing in my practice this upcoming year. Secondly, I think it's really important for athletic trainers to don't discredit your experiences. As I said before, a lot of times we take our experiences and we kind of combat them against best evidence. So I'm either focused on the evidence and what the evidence says, and I'm not going to worry about experience at all, or I'm going to say, my athletic trainer did this, and their great grand athletic trainer did that, and so this is what I'm going to do because we've been doing it forever, and I'm not going to pay attention to the evidence. It doesn't work that way. Experience is highly, highly valuable when you are using best evidence and patient values. So poor experience or doing things wrong, not great. But if you have clinical experience of taking the best evidence, taking patient values and implementing that into your practice, and you have experience of that, that is highly valuable. And that's really a large aspect of being patient-based as well. And kind of the term, something I've learned, the term clinical expert, right? That's something we use a lot, but we're not clinical experts. Most of us are not a clinical expert in anything, right? We know a little bit about a bunch of stuff. We have a really good knowledge base, but our scope is so big of what we do as athletic trainers, and what we do is so complex, right? It's not just simple patterns over and over again that we become an expert at. Clinical expertise, the ability to actually rationally think, bring complex ideas together, is something that's highly important and shouldn't be discredited when we're talking about evidence-based medicine. So, biggest challenge, and I kind of spoke on this before, and I've talked about my challenge of implementing the other two with best evidence, but also understanding best evidence has been a challenge for me. Looking at the statistics, understanding the language of of research, the methodology, right, the tactics that are used in evidence. That's something I'm really looking forward to getting better at so that I can really take the information and make it applicable to my practice, right? It's not just about what's going on in the evidence, it's about how can I use this to make my practice better. And understanding the terminology or the language of evidence is going to help me be a lot better, I think, at doing that. A question I have: how do I implement all three of these? How do I rely on clinical experience, expertise, just as much as best evidence, just as much as patient values? It's still something I struggle at, the balance. Sometimes I may catch myself being so patient-centered with their values and stuff that I'm kind of discrediting the other two, or I'm relying on past experience that might not actually relate to patient values or best evidence, or I might be focused on best evidence and I'm forgetting about the patient, right? So how I kind of balance all of those together and use all of them fully in my practice is a question that I'm looking forward to learning more about through the program and getting better at. Something I've really been proud about my experiences or my growth is my ability in this program to stay vulnerable and to stay open to change and allowing myself to be changed, and really being open about using this as an opportunity, being open about my weaknesses. I have a tendency to want to impress people, and I think going through a DAT student like myself may kind of go in saying, I want to show them the best. I want to be the best athletic trainer here. When I go in and I take this first class or I do this first assignment, I want to blow the professors' minds. And it's really not about that. It's not about blowing the professors' minds and then being like, wow, Dylan's so smart. I don't even know why he's here. Or, wow, they're such a great athletic trainer. Like, it's not about that. It's about you becoming a better you. And being vulnerable opens you up to change and being able to change. And so I've been really proud of my ability to do that. My ability to go into this program, the DAT, and say, I'm not here to try and show anybody how good I am, to impress anybody. I'm here to be vulnerable and show my failures as a clinician. And I think that's what's going to help me get better later. Dr. Gaines in his class said a quote, and I can't remember who the quote was by, but I thought it was really good. Our accomplishments are what separate us, but it's our failures that connect us. And that really hit me because a lot of the times I try and focus on my accomplishments, or I try and focus on things that set me apart from people. But I realize that as a DAT family, as us as athletic trainers, we have to look at our failures, both individually in our own practice and our failures as a profession in a whole, the way we failed ourselves, our patients, etc. And we have to be open and vulnerable about that if we're willing to make a change and be better clinicians, better practitioners of evidence-based medicine in the future. So I'm really looking forward to the next 5 semesters of this DAT and continuing that growth at finding my weaknesses and improving on them.